That is the sentence of God. But if your dream still lives, if that castle still gleams just as brightly in your eyes, then it is your obligation to lay the stones that surround you now. Let us begin the chant of offering. Stray from the path, and you will not be granted the black wings that will carry you to the heavens. Fate has set you free from human reason, and by providence, embrace your inner evil. Now stand and face your future.
The first image of Berserk is not heroism. It's not destiny. It's not even anger. It's a man walking alone. Guts moves through a ruined landscape carrying a sword that looks less like a weapon and more like a burden, too large to wield comfortably, too heavy to set down. The anime doesn't explain him. It doesn't justify him. It simply lets him exist, already scarred, already exhausted, already shaped by something the audience hasn't seen yet. Most people think the tragedy of Berserk begins with the eclipse. The truth is far more unsettling. By the time the eclipse happens, the tragedy is already over. This is Film Thought. I'm Medius. And here, we don't summarize stories. We dismantle them using what's actually on screen. When Berserk aired in 1997, it wasn't positioned as a prestige series. It was a late-night television anime with clear limitations, restricted violence, a modest budget, and heavy censorship compared to Kentaro Miura's manga. Entire sequences had to be implied rather than shown. Battles often freeze into still frames. Music repeats. Backgrounds linger longer than expected. But those constraints shaped something specific. Instead of overwhelming the viewer with spectacle, Berserk 1997 becomes intimate, psychological, claustrophobic. It's less interested in what happens and far more interested in why people keep making the same irreversible choices. The Golden Age arc, as adapted here, is not a rise and fall story. It's a slow alignment of incompatibilities. When Guts first meets Griffith, it happens through violence, but not hatred. Griffith defeats Guts cleanly, confidently, and without hesitation. And when it's over, he doesn't offer friendship. He says calmly, "You belong to me now." The line is delivered without menace. That's what makes it revealing. Griffith doesn't see ownership as cruelty. To him, it's order, purpose, structure. Guts, who has lived his entire life being used as a tool, by mercenaries, by adoptive parents, by circumstance itself, doesn't resist. He follows. Not because he believes in Griffith, but because being claimed is familiar. From the beginning, they are moving in opposite directions. Guts wants a place to stand. Griffith wants something to stand above. This difference doesn't explode immediately. It simmers. The Band of the Hawk functions because Griffith is competent, charismatic, and decisive. But the anime repeatedly shows that the loyalty surrounding him is asymmetrical. Everyone revolves around Griffith's dream, and no one is invited to question it. The clearest proof comes during the campfire scene, the moment many viewers remember as inspirational. Griffith talks about what it means to have a true friend. He says a friend must have his own dream, his own reason to live, something separate from another person's ambition. As he speaks, the anime frames him looking outward, away from the group, while Guts listens silently from the edge of the firelight. This is not encouragement, it's exclusion. Griffith is drawing a line, and Guts realizes, perhaps for the first time, that standing beside Griffith is not enough to be equal to him. That realization changes everything. When Guts challenges Griffith again, it isn't fueled by anger or betrayal. It's quiet, direct, necessary. And when Guts wins, the anime lingers not on victory, but on the sword itself, Griffith's blade snapping in half, the hilt left useless in his hand. Griffith doesn't scream, he doesn't protest, he freezes. Because this moment proves something he cannot accept, that someone he believed he possessed can leave him, and worse, can surpass him. Guts walks away without triumph. He doesn't gloat. He doesn't look back. And that restraint matters. It shows that Guts is not trying to destroy Griffith, but Griffith begins destroying himself. What follows is not bad luck. It's not fate intervening. It's a collapse triggered by loss of control. Griffith's decision to sneak into Princess Charlotte's chamber is reckless in a way we've never seen before. This is the man who built a mercenary empire through patience and calculation, and suddenly he's acting on impulse, not desire. The anime makes this clear by showing his restlessness beforehand, his inability to sit still, his need to prove something to himself. This isn't romance, it's panic. When Griffith is imprisoned, the physical torture is severe, but the anime is careful about what it emphasizes. We see the ruined hands, the damaged tongue, the hollow stare, but more importantly, we see what's gone. His ability to command, to inspire, to be seen as extraordinary. Griffith's identity was never internal. It was reflected back at him through admiration, and now there's nothing left to reflect. Casca holds the remnants of the Band of the Hawk together through sheer will, but the cost is visible. She collapses from exhaustion. She suppresses her fear. She ignores her trauma. Over and over again, the anime shows Casca pushing herself aside to maintain something that no longer exists. Her loyalty isn't rewarded, it's consumed. When Griffith is finally rescued, the illusion that things can be restored dies almost immediately. He can't fight, he can't lead, he can't even speak clearly. And when he overhears Casca and Guts discussing a future that no longer includes him at the center, something inside him fractures completely. This is where many viewers expect the story to pivot toward redemption. It doesn't. Griffith attempts to take control one last time and fails. The scene is uncomfortable, restrained, and devastating, not because of explicit imagery, but because of what it confirms. Griffith cannot exist in a world where he is no longer dominant. The Behelit activates not because Griffith is tempted. It activates because he has reached the absolute limit of what he can endure without rewriting himself. The God Hand doesn't lie to Griffith. They don't trick him. They don't implant new desires. They articulate the truth he's been avoiding since the beginning, that his dream has always mattered more to him than the people who carried it forward. When asked if he would sacrifice them, Griffith doesn't hesitate, because hesitation would mean he had ever been someone else. The eclipse is not a betrayal born in the moment. It is a culmination. Guts survives not because he's chosen, but because survival is all he's ever done. He fights, he screams, he resists, not to save the world, not to reclaim the past, but because refusing to die is the only agency he's ever been allowed. Casca's mind breaks, not from shock alone, but from the total erasure of the self she gave up to serve a dream that devoured her. And Griffith is reborn not as something new, but as something finally honest. Berserk, 1997, is not about fate controlling people. It's about people building identities so fragile that fate becomes an excuse. The anime ends where it must, unresolved, raw, and incomplete, because closure would be dishonest. There is no balance restored here, no lesson learned in time, only consequences. The most disturbing truth about Berserk is not that Griffith commits an unforgivable act. It's that nothing he does contradicts who he always was. The tragedy was never the eclipse. The tragedy was believing it wouldn't come. If this reframed Berserk for you, share your thoughts below. Like, subscribe, and join us here at Film Thought. And until next time, keep questioning the stories you think you understand.